Imagine a city where a single week could ignite a rebellion. A city where a religious festival draws tens of thousands of people into narrow stone streets. A city where Roman soldiers stand on fortress walls, watching every movement of the crowd below. Hands resting near their weapons, waiting for the slightest sign of unrest. This is Jerusalem. The year is 30 A.D. From a distance, it looks majestic and calm. The white limestone of the temple shines brilliantly under the eastern sun. Pilgrims move slowly through its vast courtyards. Merchants lift wooden shutters and prepare their goods for the day. Smoke from early cooking fires drifts gently above the rooftops. But beneath this calm surface, there is tension. Deep, dangerous, explosive tension that never fully disappears. Jerusalem at this time is not just a holy city. It is one of the most sensitive and volatile regions of the Roman Empire. The Romans know this well. The people here do not worship the emperor. They refuse to offer sacrifices in his name. They recognize only one God, and that makes this city unique, fiercely devoted, deeply proud, and potentially dangerous in the eyes of Rome. The Roman prefect of Judea, Pontius Pilate, normally resides in Caesarea by the sea, far from the religious intensity of Jerusalem. But during major festivals, especially Passover, he travels here with additional troops. Why? Because during Passover, when the city fills with pilgrims celebrating deliverance from foreign rule, the atmosphere can quickly turn political. Hope can turn into protest. Faith can turn into resistance. Here's the first surprising fact. On ordinary days, Jerusalem's population was around 40 to 50,000 people. But during Passover, it could grow 3 to 5 times larger. Some historians estimate that more than 150,000 people might have crowded inside the city walls and on the surrounding hills. Imagine that. An ancient city without modern sanitation, without a professional police force, with narrow alleys, stepped streets, and tightly packed houses. Suddenly filled with waves of pilgrims arriving from Judea, Galilee, and far beyond. The sound alone would have been overwhelming. It is the perfect environment for misunderstanding, panic, or unrest. Towering above everything stands the Second Temple, one of the most impressive religious structures in the entire Near East at the time. Its platform covered more than 14 hectares, a massive artificial expansion of the natural hill. Some of the foundation stones weighed hundreds of tons, precisely cut and fitted without modern cranes or engines. The sheer scale of the construction would have left visitors speechless. Another surprising detail. For the people of 30 A.D., the temple was not an ancient ruin from a distant past. Its massive renovation and expansion had been carried out only decades earlier under Herod the Great. For them, it was a modern, newly enhanced, dazzling sanctuary. A symbol of national identity, religious devotion, and architectural brilliance. But the temple was not only a spiritual center. It was also an economic engine that sustained the city. Here is a fact that surprises many. Ordinary Roman coins were not accepted inside the temple. They bore the image of the emperor, and sometimes pagan symbols, which were considered incompatible with religious law. So pilgrims had to exchange their money for special silver shekels approved for temple use. Money changers sat behind wooden tables, weighing coins carefully. In effect, a structured financial system operated within the sacred complex itself, blending faith and commerce. Jerusalem lived on trade and pilgrimage just as much as on prayer. Yet the city was far from united. Within its walls existed different religious and political groups: Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, Zealots, each with its own interpretation of the law and its own vision for the future. Some awaited a Messiah who would restore Israel. Others quietly prepared for rebellion against Rome. Some cooperated with Roman authority to maintain order and preserve their position. Tension between these groups was constant, subtle, and sometimes fierce. And now, another striking fact. The Antonia fortress, built beside the temple complex, was strategically positioned so that Roman soldiers could look directly down into the temple courts. From elevated towers, they observed the crowds below. They could descend quickly through connected passages if unrest began. Even during sacred rituals, the presence of Rome was visible, a silent reminder of imperial control. Even in the holiest place in the city, people stood under the watch of an occupying army. Daily life for most residents, however, was far from monumental. The majority were poor laborers, craftsmen, and farmers. They slept on simple woven mats laid across stone floors. Many owned only 1 or 2 tunics in their lifetime. They baked flatbread in clay ovens fueled by charcoal or dried brush. They carried water from underground cisterns carved into bedrock. Child mortality was high and disease was common. Medicine relied on herbs, basic procedures, and prayer. And yet, despite hardship, the city thrived with human energy. Markets sold olives, dates, figs, and grain brought from surrounding villages. Shepherds led sheep through the gates for sacrifice. Craftsmen carved limestone blocks with iron tools. Blacksmiths hammered metal in small workshops, sparks flying briefly in dim interiors. Children laughed and played along worn stairways. Scholars debated the law and the prophets in shaded courtyards. Conversations about justice, purity, prophecy, and destiny filled the air. And during these days, rumors began to spread more intensely. About a preacher from Galilee, about crowds gathering to hear him speak, about teachings delivered in parables, about bold and unsettling claims, about the possibility, whispered carefully, of a coming king. Rome grows uneasy. Religious leaders grow uneasy. Informants listen. Whispers travel quickly through the marketplace and temple courts. Jerusalem stands on the edge of something no one fully understands. From the outside, everything appears ordinary. The sun sets slowly behind the temple. Its white stone turns golden, then amber, then fades into shadow. Smoke rises from rooftops as families prepare evening meals. Soldiers change shifts with disciplined routine. Merchants count their coins by lamplight. Pilgrims rest after long journeys, unaware of how close history feels. The city breathes as it always has. Steady, restless, alive. But it does not yet know that the coming days will become some of the most discussed and transformative events in human history. That 2,000 years later, billions of people across continents will remember this city, this season, this fragile moment in time. This was Jerusalem, the year 30 AD. A city of grandeur and poverty, of faith and fear, of devotion and surveillance. A city standing on the threshold of history without yet realizing it.